Hi everyone, welcome to the data chat interface. So whether you're just learning about data and you are trying to figure out like where are the shortcuts, how do I install them, or if you've been here since the very beginning and you've been using the shortcuts for months, this is a very exciting moment. I've been building the backend system to make this all work for months now, and this chat interface for the last couple weeks, and really wanted to get it launched before Black Friday. That did not happen, but we got real close. We launched a draft of this chat interface in November. As promised, we'd have a cross-platform app in November, and we're just in the final stages now, touching it up and making sure it works well. And so I figured I would make a video to walk people through it as they discover it for the first time. We're really beginning to roll it out to everyone. Quick aside here, my goal is to have this just working beautifully on all devices for everybody well before Christmas, so we can all just play around with AI all Christmas long. So if you happen to find anything that doesn't work, I think I've tested it quite well, but I know that there may be still a few things on like mobile Safari, for example, that are broken. I recommend that you use this app on mobile Safari and bookmark it, add it to your home screen. So if you haven't done that yet, do that now. It's just heydata.org/chat on your phone. Then you hit the share button at the bottom of Safari and it will let you add it as an app to your home screen. So do that first and foremost. And then if you find anything that breaks, shoot me a quick DM on Twitter or X, or, publicly shame me, whatever is fine, at me on X, and let me know what doesn't work. And I'll get it fixed as soon as possible so that in the next couple days, if there's anything left that I haven't already caught, you can let me know and we'll get it fixed and then it'll work for everyone. Thanks in advance for checking it out. I hope you love the demos. This video is super cool. Let's get into it. So in this video, I'm going to go through three things: why a data chat exists and what our goals with it are, how it's different to the shortcuts and how it complements them, how to use it. I'm going to go through every button in the interface. We'll talk about how it all works. And then three, how to automate any request or command that data can use using Zapier. We'll get to that at the end. You can see that tab I have open. So we'll get there. Basically, the way to think about this video is 3 videos, 15 minutes each, to put it really simply. So the first section is vision. The second section is how does it all work? How do I use it? What does it look like using it? How can I get the most benefit out of this platform? And the third is then how can I make the machines use it all? How do I automate it? How do I hook it up to Zapier? How do I do stuff without me having to touch it, either by texting or emailing or by using Zapier to automate it completely? And so those are the three sections. Please feel free to skip to the section that you actually are interested in. Don't feel like you have to watch a whole hour video. That is nonsense if you don't want to. But I put it all in one video because I think they are all interrelated pieces, and I often make references to the other sections in each section. And so I think there's a lot you'll learn from the vision that informs how the product is built, and how you use the product is very informative for learning how to automate stuff. So I wanted to put them in this order for a reason. And I think if you watch the whole hour video, you will come away with your mind fully blown, really excited about the future. So I know you'll get a lot out of it. I know it's well worth your time. So thank you in advance for checking it out with me. And then I also wanted to talk briefly about, this is probably a draft of this video. I'll probably make a final version when the chat interface is final. We have a couple more features to build over the course of the next couple weeks, as well as some stability and speed improvements. Right now, data chat works brilliantly on desktop on Chrome and on phone, on mobile on Chrome. I think there are probably still a few performance issues I want to touch up on all browsers and all platforms and devices. If you have a really long chat, it'll start to slow down a little bit. And then there are also some things on Safari that I just need to clean up where it's slower than Chrome, that sort of stuff. And just keep that in mind as you use it. For the next couple weeks is going to get better, just like the shortcuts did, where we did daily releases for the first couple months. It's going to be like that here with the platform. And also, we are in the first stage ever, really, where data works with a platform that most developers are better at than me, which was not true of the shortcuts. And so I can finally hire some other developers and add to the team. So we're doing a bit of a belated Black Friday offer that I'm just calling Cyber Week, where we're doing 40% off credits and 30% off. And also the very last week that we'll have lifetime access available. Shortly, we're going to have people paying, a couple $100s a month to get rid of their $2,000 a month virtual assistant. And at that point, it doesn't really make sense for us to offer a lifetime access package anymore at any price, regardless. And so we'll probably just be killing off lifetime access finally, which I've teased before, but it's actually happening this week. So if you want lifetime access, now is your last chance to get it. We're also doing probably our last sale of the beta pricing, where you will get all of the features that people will eventually pay $5.99, $4.99 a month for, but you'll get it for $35 a month if you sign up this week. So if you're not a subscriber already, do that. But most of you are subscribers who are checking this out, and the platform should already have credits in here for you. So what I would encourage you to do if you're already a data subscriber, or you opted not to subscribe but to pay per request, is every single dollar you've ever spent with data should now be available in credits here on this chat interface. So there are two things you should do right off the bat as you explore the chat interface on your own. You can watch this video or not, doesn't really matter. But the first two things I would do is I would go to settings and I would check out credits just to see how many you have. And then I would go to settings again and I would go look at our roadmap and sort of see where we are in building the features for the chat interface that are coming over the next couple weeks. So that way, even if this video is a little outdated by then, if we're releasing things daily, it's going to be outdated by tomorrow. You can tell on the roadmap tab where we are in terms of what has just released and what's coming next. So those are the things that I would use to sort of ground yourself in reality and like what's working, what's not at this point in time. And without any further ado, I'm going to get in the video. So those are my notes. You can also check out, obviously I have to say this because, you know, I have payroll and I'm the owner of the company, so I should do a little promo. Please also check out the credits tab where we have up to 40% off credits available if you buy a lot of them at once. Same 4.5 month money back guarantee applies there. And then also check out the subscription tab if you're not subscribed. There's a really cool Cyber Week offer there too that's 30% off the subscription if you buy it 6 months or 2 years. So I don't know, I think it's a great deal. I'm really happy we were able to put together some like cool Cyber Week deals before Christmas. And if you take advantage of either of those offers, there'll be a really cool like secondary offer for your friends and family that I'm really excited about, but I can't tell you about yet, coming like in the next week or so before Christmas. So if you want to have an extra gift under the tree, just make sure you're a data subscriber already. Okay. Anyway, here we go. So let's dive in. Why data chat exists, then how to use every button on the interface, and then how to automate any request or command. Let's get started. Whew! That was a great intro. I love that. Also, you'll see I'm in my Replit hoodie. This is all built on Replit, so I just want to shout them out. Okay, so yeah, some holiday season diving into the details of our platform here. What is it we're trying to do? What are we trying to build? So the first distinction I think you will notice, whether or not I pointed out to you about data chat, is it's not free, right? And we're all very used to like Bing and Google and OpenAI, who have raised billions of dollars or make billions of dollars a year, offering free chat interfaces for AIs that are otherwise pretty expensive if you use them by API. We are not, we're bootstrapped, and so we can't unfortunately offer the product to you at a loss as much as I would love to do that. We may raise, you know, later on, but for right now, we're not planning on it. And so I tried to build an interface that we can provide at scale, at any scale, and not lose a bunch of money on it. And so that's what the data chat interface is. This has some benefits for you though. And those I want to highlight. So as you know, working with ChatGPT, it changes all the time. Like the system prompt changes, which is super annoying. And then also, so you know, sometimes it doesn't work as well for code as it used to or whatever, right? We see those comments on Twitter all the time if you're terminally online. And then it also has a rate limit. So even if you're paying $20 a month to get the pro version of ChatGPT, you'll notice that, you know, when you're really in flow and you're working with it, you're coding, out of the blue, 45 messages in to a big project, it'll be like, sorry, you've got to wait 3 hours before you can do anything else. And there will be nothing else to do except for maybe set up another account. So that is super annoying. With the data chat interface and with all of data, you can use any language model as much as you want to do as many things in parallel as you want. I'll show you later in this video. You can run 15 commands simultaneously and data will just get back to you with all of them. So you can do more than you have time to process and write with data. And you won't hit a rate limit. It will just charge you for the super expensive things you do. And there are easy ways to make it cost only a couple cents. So it's not necessarily that it's more expensive or less expensive than ChatGPT. It's just different. It's usage-based billing like I talk about on the tutorial page. And it is basically just a way for you to choose how much you want to spend on AI. If you want to spend $5 today to talk about, you know, should we go to the zoo or should we go for a drive with the family, fine, that's great. Maybe that's not even worth $5. Maybe that's only worth a couple cents. There are ways to do things for a couple cents on this platform. Or if you want to burn $500 getting a like, important piece of code working at work, fine. Whether you're an indie builder or whether you're getting a big project together at work, sometimes it makes sense to double down and really pay for the best AI to do the best stuff on your behalf in the background. And so data lets you do both of those things. So that I'm pretty excited about. And again, I would keep that sort of concept in mind. Data is primarily for work. And so try to use it for things where you'll actually make money, and you will have a way better time with it than, if you're just using it for fun and you see that things cost several cents every time you send a reply or whatever, it's a little harder to justify. And so I would really explore what you can use it for work. So that said, the second of 4 points I want to make here is that our goal with the data chat is to really develop a best-in-class universal interface for language models. And so I think the chat interface is the very beginning of that. I think there's a lot still to do. With the shortcuts, you've noticed that it's very easy to interact with AI in your headphones, and we'll be sort of pushing the state of the art on that as much as we can. I really want to get to a point where you can use Siri the same way we all intuitively feel like you should be able to. Do you know what I mean? Like, you should be able to just talk to it like you work with other people and know that it's going to do those things without you having to worry about how it works. It'll just get it done. So that brings me to my third point. Our goal with data is for it to work like people do, right? So this universal interface for language models, there are a couple really cool things about it. One, using this interface, you can trigger email data to go do a task for you and then email or text you. So that's very unique. If it's going to take 5 or 10 minutes to go do something, you don't have to sit there and wait for it to type like you do with ChatGPT. You can just fire off a command and then go do whatever else you were going to do, and you'll get an email copy of it when it's done. That's brilliant. There are some other things that I think are really unique ways to interact with language models that we have built because I wanted to be able to edit them, and customers have also suggested amazing features for us. So one of those is being able to edit with your voice. You can click any reply that you have sent or the data has sent and hit edit, the little pencil icon. You can hit edit, and then you can just talk about how you want it to be edited. So you can say, would you please rewrite this in a more formal tone? Or you could say, could you take this web search and just reformat it as a markdown table so I can copy and paste it into Excel? That sort of thing. And it'll just rewrite it for you, which is incredible. So you'll just get the rewritten version completely reformatted based on your voice instructions. The first time you do that, that's a real so I would highly suggest that you try it out. It'll blow your mind. And that's our goal with the interface, is for it to work like people do. When you work with someone, you don't expect to have to sit there, look over their shoulder and check their work and do all that. And language models have pretty good reasoning, and so they can check their own work. It's just more expensive to do that. But we give you the opportunity to do that if you want to. You can flip on recursive mode, and it'll check its own work and make sure that it gets back to you with a fact-checked, accurate thing that actually answers your question or finishes your request, whether it's drafting a document or building a website. Obviously, those features aren't completely done yet, but we're very close to that. And so that way you'll be able to work with data just like you work with people. When you tell your VA, hey, would you research, plan the trip, book the things for me, you don't expect to hear back every 500 words with a bunch of decisions about what to do next. You just expect your VA to get that done. And so that's the goal with data too, is that you should work with it like you work with people. Not to say that it is a person, but that it is a tool designed to work the way we work with people. And then the last thing I would keep in mind while we're in this why data chat exists section of the video, and this is most important, right, is that as you notice the prices of things here in the chat interface, please keep in mind that 6 months ago, these were literally twice as expensive, right? So if making a document is $10 now, it was $20 when GPT-4 launched. And by that same token, it will be half price 6 months from now. So my goal building data now, even though I think personally it's a little early for anyone to seriously use these features, there are people who are already getting way more value than they're paying for out of AI. I'm one of them. I built a whole company out of code that I didn't know how to write this year. And so I think my goal is to make data chat good enough that it's the only AI product I use. We're not there yet, but we will be soon. And I also, in that same token, I want to be ready for when intelligence is a tenth of the cost as it is now in just 12 or 18 months. So even if it's a little on the oh, this is kind of expensive side, it is already cheaper than human labor. So that's great. Though it's not always better, I think we've noticed. But it is really consistently almost there. And so I expect in the next 6 months, as the price halves again, and this has been happening for 10 years in AI, right? It's like Moore's law on top of Moore's law, where the AI tools that we build make our AI faster and they make us faster. And so not only do our tools get better, but they get cheaper because of Moore's law. And so we end up with this like doubling exponential where every 6 months the cost of AI goes down half and it gets twice as good. And so that trend is going to continue, and data is built to take full advantage of that trend and give you as many tools as early as possible. Because for a while, there are going to be some advanced things that these companies won't be able to offer at a loss because they just cost too much at scale. But data will be able to offer those things because we are profitable, like on a unit economics basis. So we can let you do some more expensive things with AI and just put that decision in your hands rather than leaving it up to us as a company to decide what things you can do with AI or not, and keeping you from doing the more valuable things that cost more. So that was my goal with data, is like, how do we take the really cool things that are maybe a little bit expensive for big tech companies to offer for free right now, put them in the hands of the people? And I think we've done that. So let's take a look at the interface and see how all of that plays out practically. Like, how can you actually use this interface to do great things? We'll take a look at the interface now. And we'll talk some about how each button works and how we achieve the vision with the actual practical details of using it. So let's get into it. Again, the first thing, like I mentioned earlier in this video, the first thing that I want you to check out when you get in here is I want you to hit the settings icon, which is a little toggle that brings up some of the interface. The top bar here is commands. You'll see this expand over the course of time. And the bottom bar here is settings, and hopefully this won't change too much. This will just be the set of settings that you have. And on mobile, you can just scroll sideways to get to all of them. But the first thing I want you to do is hit up release notes and roadmap. So you can see, okay, here are the features that we've launched and when we launched them. You can see I haven't updated it in about a week. I'll do that. And then here's what's coming next. Here's what's on the roadmap. And so just keep an eye on this, and then that way you'll understand sort of where we are in that roadmap. I'm also going to try to make a tweet for each of those features so we can have discussions right on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it about what those features need to do. And then the second thing I would check is your credits. I have 5,000 credits because I tested a billing feature a couple months ago and it charged $5,000 to my own credit card. But yeah, you should have some level of credits. That's probably not this much here in the credits dialog. And if you want to get more, you can easily type in any amount here, or use the arrows, or you can scroll down here and buy a bunch if you want a discount. So those are the first two things I'd suggest you do. But let's step through most of the interface. I won't go through all the tabs. You can check them out for yourself, and most of them are pretty self-explanatory. So I want to be respectful of your time here. But let's go over the things that you will check out right off the bat. So the first one is this attach files button. It's a little clip, a paper clip. And soon you'll be able to attach PDFs, videos, audio files, website URLs, and I mean like in the next week or two. Right now you can do, I think by the time this video goes live, you'll be able to do pictures, and then you can already paste long transcripts and title documents that you add. So you can go like, here's a document, and here's a document title, and you can hit paste, and it'll add that to the chat here at the bottom. Ta-da! Where it sort of delimits it with little XML brackets, so data can tell where your document begins and ends. And then you can chat with data about that document. And you can paste anything of any length in there, so even if data doesn't let you upload it natively yet, you just copy and paste the text, put it in there, and then you have a great way to chat with AI about that document. And there are a lot more document types incoming. My goal here is for you to just be able to add literally anything you encounter on the internet to data, to be able to talk with it, manipulate it, draft new versions of it, that sort of stuff. So that's what that button does. Settings button you already know about. It toggles the rest of the interface. We'll go over some of that in a second. This is the type box. If you're on mobile, you'll notice when you click the type box, it gets a little bigger. This is the send button. Hi data, we'll say, and then we'll hit send, and it will add the message to the chat when you hit send, okay? And then here's a microphone button. Check this out. Hey data, how are you doing today? Would you check the news and let me know, like, are there any fun events right now? It just snowed. And now you see it took the audio that I just said out loud, it put it into the chat interface, and now this brings us to commands. So if you want to run a command, you want to force data to run a command. Soon data will pick its own commands to run, just like the shortcuts do. Right now it doesn't quite do that yet. So if you notice, you text and email data, it doesn't run commands yet, but it will in the next couple days. But if I want to force data to run a command, go to the chat interface, and pick browse, and it will explain to you what browse is, what it does, how it works, who made it. And you'll be able to make these kind of commands yourself too. Data will write them for you and then credit you. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, if you click one of these things, you go browse, and then you hit send, it will say one browse is running. And you can do a couple. So you could do like, when is, oh, actually, it's more fun to use your voice. When is the next SpaceX Starship rocket launch going to be? It's probably going to get this wrong. I don't think anyone knows right now. It should be in the next couple weeks. But let's use browse to figure it out. So you can see now I'm running 2 browse commands, and you can do multiple commands at the same time. So would you make an image of Starship launching on Christmas? That's my guess for when the next Starship launch is going to be. Let's do one more. Hold on. Would you also make an image of Starship launching in Colorado on Christmas? I don't know if it's going to be any good at that, but we'll see what it looks like. So now you can see we're running 2 image commands and 2 browse commands simultaneously, right? I don't have to sit there and wait for it to type and get it done. I can just keep making requests and asking stuff. So like, you can keep doing this until these commands start to come back. And that's the goal with data, right? Is that when you have a lot of work to do and you just want to throw it all in there, let the AI process it and come back to you with answers, you can do that. So we're not limiting you on when something is happening. You have to wait or open up a new tab. You can just do it all in one tab, which I love. And I also want to highlight it's mobile friendly. Like all of this is built mobile first. It actually works a little better on mobile than it does on desktop in many cases. And so I really am building this to be useful on a day-to-day, you pull out your phone from your pocket and use it sort of level, right? And if you haven't already, please add this page to your home screen on your iPhone or whatever so that you can easily access it. Wow. Cool. I would run into a bug while we're doing the demo video, wouldn't we? Hey, there's our Starship launch on Christmas. That's really funny. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I'm using Claude right now, and it's just refusing what I asked it to do. So this brings me to another thing I wanted to highlight. Models. So when you are using data, what it's doing is a little bit different than most AI tools. So the model you're using, you can easily change by hitting this little guy. And you can see here, some of them are grayed out. Why is that? We'll talk about that. But you can go ahead and select GPT-4 Turbo as the default. And I think 16,000 tokens is the default as well. And we recommend, you can read all this if you want to. But basically, this slider changes your max context length where data will start to compress your memories and keep your conversation at that length continuously. So for example, about the minimum that the data prompt can work with is 4,000 tokens, counting some of the other stuff it reads in, like your personal info and your conversation history. The max minimum you can work with is about 4,000 tokens. So that's our minimum here on the slider. And then the recommended is about 16,000. You'll see this is about a week of memory. And then you can extend it all the way up to the full context length of the model, as you know, if you've used the shortcuts before. But the problem with that is that now when your memory is completely full and you have all of this context that you really don't need as a part of your conversation, every single reply is going to cost $1.29. And so what I wanted to do with the chat interface is build a simple way for you to set that sort of continuous cost so that it matches your sort of expected level of what you want data to cost every month, right? And so when it comes to, obviously the subscription is one thing just for access, but when it comes to like how much AI am I going to use during the month, what do I want that additional cost to be on top of that? Even if you're using the most expensive model in the world, GPT-4, you can still get daily use out of it for less than $15 a month, less than our subscription. And that was sort of my goal. And then what I would recommend is that you set it about here, because this, you're going to get a week of memory. You'll get all the benefits of Data's memory features, but you won't necessarily have to pay more than a couple cents per request. And if you use this with GPT-3 Turbo, you'll notice, okay, now it's on the level of like 1 cent per request. And I'm going to be hard pressed to spend more than like a Chipotle burrito per month on AI if you're using GPT-3. So that's sort of what I would recommend, is you just play around and find your comfort level with what works really well for data here in this dialogue. Brief intermission because I forgot to finish explaining myself. So I mentioned earlier that some of these are grayed out. That is because the context length is bigger than they allow. So you'll notice some of these models are 4,000 token maximum models. And so they're grayed out if you have selected more than 4,000 tokens. If you go ahead and select 100,000 tokens, you'll notice there are only 3 models you can use with that many tokens. Claude and Claude 2.1, which support up to 200,000 tokens, which is wild. So you can go ahead and select all the way up to 200,000 tokens, and then you can work with only Claude 2.1. Not even Claude Instance supports that many. Or you can select a more middle of the road number of tokens, like 32,000, and then you can work with most of the models. So, it's still up for debate exactly how this slider should work, but I wanted it to be kind of visually showing you the context length relative to the maximum of the model you have selected. So you'll notice, okay, 24,000 tokens is this percentage of use of the model maximum, which is 128. So that's how that works. If it's confusing, I'm sorry. Please tell me how you think it should work. Then you hit close and it'll save this. And you can see up here it says, okay, you're using GPT-4 and it says 16,000 tokens right here. So then you can have these conversations and we can try again some of these browse requests and this sort of thing, right? So I'm actually going to go copy a request I made earlier. And then I'm going to repaste it and rerun it. And we'll see if we get a better answer from GPT-4 than we did from Claude. I expect yes. And so that's how I would recommend you work with the platform. You'll really enjoy getting to sort of play around and experiment with it, learn new things about how it works. This is cool, right? Love that. Yeah, so that is sort of the broad overview of how to use the chat interface. Some of the most important buttons you need to be aware of. You now know how to speak to type to data. You know how to use some of the commands. So now there's one other thing that I want to highlight here on our chat interface, right? And this is these little buttons on the top of every chat bubble when you hover. If you're on mobile or you're on desktop, you'll see these buttons in the top corner over the bubble that you just tapped on. Hey, here's our weekend update from GPT-4, which looks just as fine. What I love about Claude is how well it organized this markdown table. Look at this, right? This is pretty cool. It found some holiday ice skating and that sort of stuff. So if I hated this message, I wanted to get rid of it, I could hit this trash can. It would give me the option to hide it for the session or delete it from the server, and it'll be gone forever. And you can do that and it'll literally just disappear. So if you got a bug that you don't like or it's hallucinating in a way you don't like, you just hit delete from server and bam, that message is gone. But let's go back down here. The next one is the share button. And I love the share button because if you get something like this that you want to share with other people, you're like, oh, wow, okay, these events look really cool. I want to send this to my friends. I'm going to go ice skating in Denver with them this weekend. You can hit either of these buttons and they do basically the same thing. One is copy a static link. And what this will do is it'll create a page like this where you get a copy of the message. Here's another page that I already pre-rendered for you, but it's an ultra browse answer. And now you just have a share link, right? And you'll notice when you first copy the link that it looks like this, right? Where it has a title and a description and then the content of the message down here. But if you wait a couple seconds, you'll notice that it actually renders a picture as well as the preview image for social media. And it's really beautiful, detailed DALL-E 3 image that has to do with whatever the content of the page is. And then you'll notice when you share that on social media, it'll say the title of the page that it makes up and the subtitle, and it'll show that preview image on social media. So really, really cool share feature. So any data chat you can instantly make a static website out of, or you can edit it and then make a static website out of it, right? So if you wanted to go, hey, let me edit the original markdown. What do you guys think about this? Want to go? So now I'm about to send this to my friends and invite them, and I've added that message to the original message. Isn't that cool? And now I can click email, and I can either email myself a copy, or I can text me a link to that page that I just showed you. So when you make a share page, you could text yourself a link. Super cool to be able to do that. But say you didn't want your friends to get distracted with all these links and URLs here at the bottom. Say you wanted to edit this message, but you didn't want to have to retype it all. This is what Edit by Voice does, and it's super, super cool. So you go, hey, I'm actually going to invite my friends to do these things. Would you please rewrite this as an email inviting my friends to do this stuff and ask them which thing they want to do? And now it's going to edit this message based on your instructions that you just gave it. And you'll see we have a very silly animation that does this for you. So this is a super, super cool way to take any answer or reply from Data, or even anything you've written to Data, and reformat, re-edit it just using your voice. You don't actually have to retype it all. And so this is a super fun way to do it. I could also, of course, just ask Data, hey, would you, based on the research up there, would you write an email, draft an email for me, or email my friends? And it would do that. But I just wanted to demonstrate the edit feature for you. So this is kind of a fun way to do it. I will mention this is destructive. When you do these edits to a message, it will destroy the original and it will rewrite it. So you can see now, how cool is this? A fun weekend in Denver. Who's it? Hey, friends. I've got some cool events lined up. Looking forward to seeing all of you, right? And so this is what I mean by building the state of the art of these interfaces, is I really want to have a way for you to just work with language models. This will work with any language model you use, and all of these commands will use the language model you have selected. So if you like Claude's style better, or you like Llama's style better than GPT-4, switch to that, and it will use that model for all of these functions. Then if you happen to want a podcast version of that email that you just wrote to your friends, you can hit this little speak button, and it will use OpenAI's voices or 11 Labs voices. You'll be able to choose which voice here in a couple days as well. And it will generate like basically a podcast of this message and of any reply. Again, you can do this with any reply. So if you want Data to speak something out loud to you, you get that as a downloadable audio file right here.
A weekend of fun in Denver? Who's in? Hey friends, I've got some cool events lined up for us this weekend.
Isn't that sick? And you can just hit right here. You can change your playback speed, or you can download the MP3 file and just text them that MP3 file. Isn't that cool? So some really crazy stuff you can do with this interface that works with any of the messages you've sent back and forth. Or you can just copy and paste the original message. Say you want to email them. You just go copy rich text, and then you can go paste this into an email. Or you can copy the HTML if you want to build your own website, or the Markdown if you want to put it in your Notes app. Or you can just copy the plain text if you don't need all the links and everything else. One other final feature I wanted to talk about is this text me next time thing. You will notice that some of the commands are expensive and they take a long time. And like I mentioned in the beginning, this is part of our vision of building features that will be no-brainers to use in 6 months when AI is cheaper, but might be only useful some of the time for some people right now. One of those, as an example, I'm sure there will be many more of these. One of those right now is Make Document. You remember data guides started at $1.90 and then they went up to $20 and they could do a lot of things. So this is Make Document, and it'll cost, $5 if you make a short document. It'll cost $20 if you make a long document. And I've sort of tried to estimate the middle of the road there for you. But it also takes 5 minutes, and if you happen to close the chat interface or walk away from your phone or whatever the case during those 5 minutes, right now there's a bug where it won't even show up in the chat. So that's a problem. But a great way to work around that is this Text Me Next Time feature. So if you click Email Me, you'll notice here, okay, now my current reply type selected is email. And then if I say make me a copy of the IHOP menu as my request, and then I run Make Document, it will go do that. But instead of putting it here in the chat interface, it will say, we'll reply by email when I have your IHOP menu ready. And so it's able to do anything. It can draft basically documents of any length, and it does that by estimating how many pages it thinks your final document will need to be. So if you say, hey, please write me an entire email campaign, it will get back to you with many pages of email campaign with a picture for each email. And it does a great job of sort of estimating how the document needs to be structured, and then doing its best to research as many things as it needs to know to get that document done, and then hopefully delivering you the final product. There are a lot of bugs with a lot of these things right now, so I wouldn't expect it to work perfectly every time, and that's why I have said that it will work 60% of the time, so maybe budget $20 or $40 if you want to play around with it. And it's super expensive to do that right now. But again, you got to remember, halves every 6 months. So next June, this will be $5. And then the next Christmas, this will be $2.50. It'll start getting even better during that time period. So at some point, why would you write anything yourself when you can have it all written and fact-checked by Data? That'll happen in the near future. We're not there yet, but that's what we're building toward. So that's how Data works. That's the interface. I think that gives you a good idea of how it all works and what you might use it for. And hopefully this is a useful demo that you've enjoyed, sort of getting into some of the details about how the chat interface works. And now let's go on to how to automate things. So when you click, I'm going to get into a little bit of the weeds here. Stay with me. If you want to come back and watch this later, totally fine. There's a tab down here. You can rewatch the video at any time. But what I think is really cool about these commands is that what's actually happening when you click one of these commands is basically data is pre-filling in before your message something like this: make mind map. And then a colon, and then your message. So you've clicked this button. Really all that's happening is that make mind map with a little dash in front of it and a colon after it is getting added to your message that you send data. And I just want to say here for our super nerds and shortcut users that it may seem a little like, just like, why did you do it that way, Steve? Like there are a million better ways to do it. You are right. That's correct. There are a million better ways to do it. But what's interesting about this format of like dash, plain language name, colon, is that that's actually the exact same way the shortcuts work. And this has been the master plan all along, is that there's this underlying, I'll get to talk more about it as we build more features, but there's this underlying like plain language interface basically that data lets you use to run commands, to automate things. That I think is the real core underlying power of data, is that eventually data will be able to write these plain language commands as well and make a lot of decisions about how to run multiple different commands for itself in a row over time. And so this is part of our longer term vision of making a fully autonomous agent. But basically both the shortcuts and the website work the same way. And that is like actually really cool. So I'm getting into the weeds way too much now. Back to the tutorial. What that means is that you can also hack this and you can do it your own way. And we'll get to that in a second with Zapier. So if you wanted to manually trigger any of these commands, you could just phrase it like this. And this is useful for a reason. Eventually there will be an easier way to do this. But this is useful for a reason in that, say you wanted to trigger data remotely to always run a specific command. You could just prepend this to your message and data would always run that command with whatever your request is. So now let's go look at Zapier and see how we might schedule a morning update every single morning that basically checks the web for what's going on and then generates like a browse request response email to you in the morning. Okay. So what I would do is I would go over here to Zapier, and what you're going to be doing is building a custom webhook for data, right? And so that's the language I would use with Zapier because it knows what it means. So I would say, what do I want to automate? Oh, I actually really love this about the data interface too. So I can use the microphone to generate text that I want to copy and paste elsewhere. So I'm going to do that now. I want to build a Zap where I take basically a standard request every single morning and I send a webhook at a specific time every day. Okay, so now I'm going to just paste those instructions into Zapier and it's going to make a new Zap for me. Okay, so every day, scheduled by Zapier, custom request, webhook. Okay, so that looks like roughly what I want to do. There's some cleaning I need to do to the information as well to make it work well. We only need one webhook request, not two. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and we're going to say, okay, yeah, every day sounds great. Continue. Yes, weekends. I would love for it to be at, honestly, 8 a.m. is fine. I don't need to customize it beyond that. Yeah, cool. Zapier can be a little hard to use sometimes, so bear with me. Okay, sweet. So now on every day at 8 a.m., I'm going to do this. Wonderful. Okay, continue. Now what I want to do is on that time at that date, I'm going to do a custom webhook request. And so now here in our webhook, what we're going to do is we're going to do a get request and we're going to build a data webhook. And let me show you how this works. It's pretty easy, actually. You want to do heydata.org/API/v1. And this is in our documentation you can check out as well. If you want to understand exactly how to do this, just click customize automate data in the settings bar. But yeah, so basically the equivalent to activate data in shortcuts is called core data. And the parameters that you want to put in are the same ones that you log in with. So for example, here's my phone number. and this will automatically activate my version of data. So here's my phone number. And then I want the user request. So the variables you want to be aware of here as you do this are pretty simple. User request is going to be your request. Phone number or email is going to be your login token. And you'll also have an API key soon, but we don't have that yet. And then, if I've totally lost you at this point, totally okay. You don't have to know what all this means. You'll see how easy it is to set up here in a second. So just stay tuned. And then reply type is how it's going to get back to you. Is it just going to reply to the web request and load the answer? Or is it going to email you or text you or WhatsApp you or iMessage you? So you'll see how this works in a second. So I'm going to do this thing that I just talked about with you guys, where I do basically browse, check what's happening today, and email me a markdown table of the coolest events that are going on. Okay? And so if I pasted this right now into the URL field of my browser, you would see an internal server error. Oh, it's because I formatted it wrong. There we go. So now you see it says processing request, and I haven't put at the very end of it reply type. So I'm going to open a new tab where I add one more parameter called reply type equals email. Okay, and I'm going to open another tab with email. And you'll see if I open the email one, it says received replying by email now. It says that right away. So we actually know for a fact that that is going to be compatible with Zapier. So we can just paste that whole thing in. You see how pasting it into my URLified it. So all the spaces are %20s now. So all of this is compatible with a URL. You can pass that as a URL. And now it will go ahead and do that, which is super cool. So now I just need to hit continue, and then test step. Let's do it. It's testing now. Reply received, replying by email now. And so now I can hit publish, and every day at 8 a.m. I'm going to get a ultra browse command reply that looks like this, basically, which you may recognize as a normal ultra browse output, but without the line breaks. So this is the same thing as we're seeing here, where you have a lot of URLs and that sort of thing, except it's not formatted with Markdown like it is on our chat interface. It's literally just the raw code that data replies with. And so by putting that end tag on here that says reply type email, I will have gotten an email copy of this here in the next 5 or 10 minutes. I will make you wait for that email to come in. But basically now what data is doing is it's running that command. It's replying to that command with it has gone and searched a bunch of websites and found the answer. And you can do this with any of these commands. So if it's make document or if it's make an image, then you can do that. And it will automatically check if you have credits available, and then it will run the request. So yeah, that's how you automate anything you want to do with data. And you don't have to memorize how to use commands either. You will be able to just ask data. So like, for example, instead of formatting this -browse : and then the request, I could have just formatted it, hey, would you go surf the web, see what's up today, and then send me an email, without adding any of the extra coding here. And data would figure out how to do that on its own. But what I wanted to illustrate in this video is that if you happen to want to like fine tune and control the exact thing that data is going to do without leaving it up to the AI what to do next, you can very easily chain multiple of these together. And you could, for example, take the output from this one and then use it to write a well-formatted email. And then you could say, generate a audio file from that, and then send yourself a podcast every morning, right? And so the number of things that you can do with this is pretty unlimited, and it's sort of up to you. But the whole goal of this was that you should be able to tell just from this interface what data can do, and then test it with the interface, and then take what you've learned about how it all works and go automate it with Zapier if you want. And then what's even better than all of that is once you find something that you really like, that you do on a regular basis, and you just want to make it a single command, data can help you build that command. So that feature will be launching in the next week or two. Whereas right now, all these commands are made by me. We'll be adding our first few data creator commands over the next week. So keep an eye out for some of these that are authored by someone other than Steve Morocco. But basically, when you make your own data command, you'll get to give us your PayPal email address and support links and that sort of thing for your command so that people can easily contact you if they want to give you feedback on how it works. And then every time someone else uses your command, you will get paid for it. You'll get a fraction of the credits that they use. And so if you find something really cool that you enjoy using data to automate, you can make that a command other people can use. And then that way we constantly build new skills for data and data's capabilities constantly expand. And I'll add a little search icon to this row because it's going to get long very quickly. Oh my gosh, I almost forget to mention one of the coolest parts of all this is that there is another parameter that you can customize. I gotta go back and edit my Zap and go into this particular. So there's one more, you can customize not just reply type, but also a bunch of other things. So like if you wanted to customize, for example, the subject line in the emails that it's sending you, you could say morning briefing, and then you could say for today, right? And then your subject line is always going to be the same. Data won't write a subject line. It'll just use that one. One of the coolest ones I think is awesome. And again, in our documentation, you have access to what all of these are and how to use them. But just for the sake of this video, model. So say you wanted to actually just use Claude Instant 1 for all of these. And again, any of those models that you see listed on our model page, you can use. So, what if you actually just wanted to do this without browsing, but you wanted to use Perplexity 70B online, which doesn't need to browse. So now you could just go, I'm going to remove the browse command from this, and I'm going to say, why don't you just tell me what's happening today? What's %20 happening today? Isn't this cool? So now I have an online model that I'm asking to write this email to me every morning, and it's just going to do it. How crazy is that? Now I want to mention, again, your context window, Perplexity is a 4,000 token model. And so what it does, if your memories happen to be 100,000 tokens and you randomly request one request to a token model that doesn't support that, what it does is it actually pretty intelligently trims down your prompt in order to fit there. So in this example, I have a 16,000 token memory that I'm currently working with for my main data chat, and I'm making a request to a 4,000 token model. And what's going to happen there is it's going to trim the middle of my conversation history until it's down to just the appropriate size. So I'm going to get about 2,000 tokens of my memories in there and the rest of data's prompt. And then the system prompt is going to be trimmed to like 1,000 tokens. And that's a ratio of the total token length of the model. And so that's basically how it works. And it does all that automatically on the back end. You don't even have to think about it. And again, this plain language agent architecture stuff that I'm talking about, again, a little bit in the weeds here, but if you wanted to be like a power user and make a system prompt in here that is custom. So like if the language model you're using, like Claude 2, sorry, I'm choking on my words. If Claude 2 was refusing to do whatever you were asking it to do here, you could use the new system prompt that now Claude 2 and Perplexity and Llama and OpenAI all use system prompts. You could insert a system prompt into any request you make of data by just putting these 4 bars or 3 bars on the end of, or anywhere in your request actually, and it'll turn whatever is within those 4 bars into a system prompt. So I could say, like, you're a morning show host DJ, right? And then I'm going to go URLify that URL by hitting send, and I'm going to copy it so that it is URLified, and I have my %20s in there, and that's it. So now I have a request that will send me an email as if it's a morning host DJ from Perplexity Online. Now I can hit continue and hit test again. Isn't that cool? I wanted to convey the power of all this to you. So now you can make chains, or you can schedule chains of one-off prompts or commands with individual language models going and using them and doing them. I mean, the possibilities are endless, but I don't want to go on too long about the possibilities, but hopefully that conveys some of the possibilities here to you. Pretty cool, right? So yeah, that's how data works. That's the chat interface. That's what I've been busy building the last couple months. I'm sorry I went dark and didn't update the shortcuts for a while, but I think it was worth it. I think we have a really, really cool platform that can do a ton now. And of course, all of this will be syncable with the shortcuts. So this will just build on the stuff the shortcuts can already do. In all of these conversations that you have by text or email with data. Oh, by the way, I got this far. I didn't even mention But you can click here and you can say email or text data. And if you send a text message from this number or you send an email from this number, your email and phone will show up here. Now, these are mine. But if you send an email or text to data from your number or your email, it will just automatically add it to this chat now. And that works for asking it to run commands. It works for any of these things, right? So that works the exact same way. Really super cool, honestly. I think you'll really enjoy getting to play with it. So I think that's everything I could possibly cover about the chat interface for now. You've seen that there are still a few bugs, kinks, things to work out. It'll probably be that way for another couple of months. And then we'll leave beta. We'll be done. We'll have a version of data that, as promised, by the end of 2023, give or take a few weeks, actually does everything you might want to do at work for under $5, which was the goal this whole year. So I think we hit that solidly. And as you can see in my shortcuts welcome video, we have a really, really exciting long-term vision for what we want to build with data over the next 2 years. The goal is that data will just be the ultimate VA helping you build your business or achieve whatever goals you have in your personal or work life, whether or not you have your own business. And I'm really excited for that to happen and to get to do that with you guys. So that wraps the video about the chat interface. Thank you for taking the time to watch it. And more than that, thank you for being an early supporter and believer in this vision. It has been so much fun to get to build data alongside people who share the same values I do about AI and are really excited to get to try cool new things with artificial intelligence. I hope that this platform gives you a million ways to begin to do new things at work with AI. And I cannot wait to hear your feedback on it and continue to build amazing new features that all of us love using. So yeah, if there is anything that keeps you from using this interface as your main way to work with AI, please let me know and I would fix it until it is. My goal is for this to be the home base for everyone to be able to use AI exactly how they want to be able to use it. I think we're pretty close, honestly. I'm really proud of what we built. So again, a shout out to Replit for supporting and making all of this possible. They have been an amazing platform to build on. And a shout out to OpenAI for building a really cool model that knows how to code, because I don't. And a shout out to all of you, data customers, believers and supporters, followers on Twitter. It's been a blast getting to build all this alongside you, and I'm sure that will continue. I'm really looking forward to doubling down on this next year and continuing to just make amazing, cool things happen with AI as AI gets cheaper and more affordable to use and can do even more. So yeah, stay tuned. It's going to be a wild ride. I hope you love the chat interface. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.